football folk is doing. Last week they had Brady. This week they got Brady.
We're doing it. We're literally doing it differently from everybody else.
As a matter of fact, moving forward from this point on, I will not make reference to PFF.
Ready to get into it?
Yeah.
All right. We're going team by team.
I would be very careful about slinging stuff.
Am I going to get sued?
We got legal on this?
Let's send you out on the right note. PFF sucks. Have a great day, everybody.
Wow.
Welcome into the PFF NFL podcast. Steve Palazzolo, Sam Monson, live on YouTube. Today, building our expansion teams even further, including we're gonna redo the entire draft, Sam. We're gonna redo free agency and the draft from this offseason to build our expansion teams.
Yep, we gotta update them after the Madden, the embarrassment that was Madden.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it, I suggest you go check it out. I think you definitely should go check out Thursday's episode where you and I played Madden head to head.
Yeah, wasn't great.
Wasn't great.
Yeah,
for you,
particularly for me. Yeah.
Yeah, better for my team. So I did win the Madden head to head. We simmed the season. Sam somehow finished with a middle of the pack type of record.
That's the worst, the most egregious part of it.
Yeah, we decided to trust Madden for where you're gonna be in the draft this year.
Yeah. So I'm picking outside of the top 10 despite having one of the worst teams ever assembled.
So, for those of you just tuning in, last year we did a full real expansion draft. We had Andrew Bowl, one of our listeners, went through and kept players protected for each team, left the unprotected players, did a full expansion draft, then we did free agency, then we did a draft, built our teams. You and I played Madden with those teams from last year, and now we're going to simulate the 2024 offseason. There are some tricky parts to this because we signed some players to like one-year contracts last year. Did we re-sign them? I think we just assumed we re-signed those guys.
Well, or simply we claimed those players as part of the expansion team, and they just had 1 year left on their deals, right? So there are a bunch of one-year players under contract for our teams expiring that would be upcoming free agents. I think our determination has essentially been, if you want to keep them, you can keep them. And if you want to cut them loose, cut them loose.
We're not getting deep down into the minutia of the salary cap right now.
No, well, we haven't involved Andrew this offseason, so it's a lot more surface level, should we say.
Sorry, Andrew. I mean, maybe you can jump in.
Fix our disaster.
Fix the cap. He'll be like, oh, Sam, you're 20 million over the cap.
Yeah, we looked at it, and both of us were a mile under the salary cap.
Yeah.
So we looked at it this offseason. We said, we're going to basically do more or less what we want in terms of free agency. We're each miles under the cap. We can make this
Maybe
happen.
next year we'll get the cap involved as we build. But, year two's big in expansion territory. Don't forget those 1996 Jags.
Don't forget them.
And the 96 Panthers, year two in their expansion life.
They both made championship games.
Both went to the championship game. Both lost in the championship game. Panthers lost to the Packers. Jags lost to the Patriots. The 1996 season. Imagine that, an expansion team in year two. They gave them a lot of edges back then.
Right.
They had the double draft picks and the whole thing. The Jags got Mark Brunell, of course. A lot of edges for those teams. Mark Brunell and Kerry Collins leading their teams to the championship games. But okay, so we're going to get into it. We're going to do the whole offseason. We'll go through free agency and then the draft. But first, as a busy parent, you want to give your kids a head start in their financial future. But investing can often be both confusing and time-consuming. Fabric by Gerber Life makes it easy for you to set up an investment account for your child that grows with them and helps prepare for their financial future. Fabric by Gerber Life was designed by parents for parents to make it easy to plan for and manage your family's financial path. With a UGMA account from Fabric, you can start investing in your child's future today. UGMA stands for Uniform Gifts to Minors Act. While your kids can't invest while they're minors, a UGMA account allows you to invest on their behalf and gives their investments more time to grow. So join the thousands of parents who trust Fabric to help protect their family. Start investing in your child today at meetfabric.com/PFFNFL. That's meetfabric.com/PFFNFL. meetfabric.com/PFFNFL. Portfolio is managed by Fort Washington Investment Advisors, Inc. Additional services provided by Apex Clearing Corporation. All investing is subject to risk. Monthly minimum contribution required. Learn more at meetfabric.com. All right, Sam, you ready to do this?
Yeah, it's nice in the studio, temperature-wise. It's a nice vacation for me.
All right, you've got a hard out today, but you can explain in 30 seconds or less what happened to you this weekend.
At about 4:30 p.m. on Saturday, in the midst of 97-degree temperatures, my AC unit packed up.
Huh.
So, you're scrambling around trying to get somebody to come look at it ASAP, right? And by ASAP, I was thinking before Monday. because it's the weekend. Got a guy who was able to do it within the hour. He's like, let's hope it's just a blown capacitor. Those go all the time, and it's really easy to fix. He's like, oh, good news, your capacitor's dead. Replaced it. Oh, bad news, it's still dead. So it turns out the whole AC unit needs to be replaced, and the temperatures are still high. So it got to 85 inside my house yesterday. That's not fun.
Yeah, that sounds awful.
Yeah.
Wow. So how long until this thing gets
There's somebody
fixed?
coming today to quote for a new system, and tomorrow from a different company to quote for a new system, and then I don't know how long it takes them to actually throw one in there quickly, but hopefully the next couple of days.
Yikes.
It's not fun.
Well, best of luck with that.
Thanks.
All right, man. Free agency here.
Yeah.
So what we did last year is we said we were expansion teams. We're, again, does the cap really matter here? We were assuming like a 20%, upcharge here, basically.
Right.
That there was a players would have to get paid a little bit more to go to the London Silly Nannies or whatever your team is, or the North Reading Hornets, my team. So we'll kind of do the same thing. It doesn't really matter. It's not going to change a whole lot of our strategy, but we each got to pick 5 free agents. We'll each get to pick 5 free agents going back and forth here. Okay?
Yep.
So I will concede. I'm giving you all the concessions here. I'm letting you pick first in free agency, and you get the pick in the draft.
I get the pick in the
You
draft.
get the higher pick in the draft. Your draft pick. So just so you know, you have pick 11
Yeah.
of every round.
That's not that much of a concession.
I have pick 15 of every round. We each have 7 picks. We can't trade picks. You know I would trade. You know I'd have 15 picks if I was really running
trade
the
down,
show here.
right.
You know that would be
All the time.
truth. But we'll redo the draft. So I'll let you have the first choice here in free agency.
Well, Madden exposed a significant weakness in the middle of my defensive line. For some reason, there were players that just weren't there. The likes of Neville Gallimore didn't appear to be getting it done. And thankfully, Neville was on a 1-year deal, so he's out the door. And I'm going to replace him with Christian Wilkins.
Wow.
I have seen the error of my ways, and I am replacing it in a significant way with a big body, high-impact playmaker, the marquee free agent, right in the middle. Christian Wilkins comes in, fixes it.
Big money right there going with Christian Wilkins, one of the highest.
This is like the Kansas City. Remember when they lost the Super Bowl, when their offensive line got wrecked, and they're like, nope, everything's getting destroyed. And they rebuilt the whole thing, and they're like, big money, we're going to spend more than you've ever seen spent on the offensive line from now until eternity. That's what I'm doing with the defensive interior.
Oh, this next Madden game is going to be completely different. Rashad Penny going 50-plus yards on the first play.
There was definitely, I found myself when I was doing these free agents thinking, now, do I want to do this for what I would do, or do I want to do this for a Madden game?
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Uh-huh.
No, we're doing this live, by the way.
Yeah, I am.
This is live.
Right.
So right now you're thinking, how do I get better at Madden?
Well, I'm thinking, would this player make more of an impact in a Madden game than he would, in real life?
See, I'm still playing for real life here. Still playing for real life, but maybe you'll catch up in Madden terms. Okay, so you're getting Christian Wilkins. I'm going with another big name free agent here. I'm going Danielle Hunter because I need I got to build that defensive line here, Sam. Currently have Derek Barnett, Charles Omenihu, Obo Okoronkwo, a solid group, a cogent group. But I need that star. Need Danielle Hunter, one of the highest price free agents this offseason, much like Christian Wilkins. They were the top two paid non-quarterbacks. Of course, Kirk Cousins made the most money in free agency. So you and I are both going with splash moves here in free agency.
Yeah.
So you got Wilkins, I got Hunter.
But I did not go with the Kirk Cousins. I did not decide to.
I really thought you might. Well, I mean, you still can.
I thought about it. I was like, do I? But I was thinking, so this is where I think I was. The Madden side of me was like, I should really go and get Kirk Cousins.
You don't want to play
that
with
gives me a much better chance of winning a Madden game. And then the honest, playing for the future part of me was like, no, I wouldn't give up on Bryce Young after 1 year, even after that Madden game. I would give him another year. I would stick. And once we sim the season, Bryce Young had 20 touchdowns and 9 picks or whatever it was. We also had somebody suggest, by the way, and this is fair, that the next game we play, we should just sim the game and commentate over the top of it rather than actually play, where the disparity in talent ability on Madden is
there a coach mode?
Front and center.
Is there a coach mode in
I think
Madden?
you can just sim the game, right? Like live, sort of just zero, like both controllers in the middle and watch it play out.
There used to be, I'm assuming you can still do this. You can call the play, and then you can just press X,
and hands off
to
and watch
snap
it happen.
Yeah, and you just watch the play happen.
But I think you can.
That's like your coach.
Yeah,
mode.
I think if you put both controllers in the middle and just set it going, you can just watch it play like a game, like
True. No,
TV.
I understand. Yeah, okay. Maybe we'll do that. We'll do that next time. So you to offset your lack of stick skills.
Yes.
Okay. Just making sure that was clear.
Yeah.
All right, you're up in free agency here.
All right, number 2, my backfield was miserable. In particular on Madden, I actually think it was slightly harshly, like Roshan Johnson I think is a solid player. Nonetheless, in Madden he's not getting it done. So
You really are just playing for Madden here.
a little bit.
You're going running back here?
Not entirely. Well, yes, I'm bringing in Saquon Barkley to fix my backfield. Now, I've obviously criticized this kind of strategy in the past, right? If you're going to draft Najee Harris in the first round to fix your running game, it's a bad strategy. He's not going to do it on his own. But my offensive line is good. My offensive line is solid. My run game should function, and it isn't because my backfield was awful. So I'm bringing in Saquon Barkley, and it's fixed.
Wow. That is... You're just playing for Madden.
Running
backs matter.
This one is the Madden pick. And maybe a little bit in the next one.
Pick. I'm sticking to what I normally preach on the show here and building that offensive line. So I'm going Tyler Biadasz, the center who signed with the Commanders this offseason, former Dallas Cowboy. I was believing in Doug Kramer and his ability to develop. And since he didn't play any NFL football last year,
Didn't develop.
So I need at least a cogent center. So there is Biadasz. My current offensive line, we've got Orlando Brown Jr. and Rob Havenstein as our tackles. Like that. Kevin Zeitler, tail end of his career at right guard. Brady Christensen, could upgrade there at left guard. We'll see what happens in the draft.
We'll see.
But Tyler Biadasz now to lock down that center spot. So I'm feeling pretty good about my offensive line now.
The other area of my team that was utterly, utterly miserable was wide receiver, where anytime Bryce Young actually put a pass on his receiver, the receiver dropped it. The only guy that seemed to be able to catch was Kevontae Turpin. So that's not great.
Keeping Turpin. So Turpin's your one.
So Turpin's still in the mix, but we're going to add receiver help. And this was not a great free agent group for receivers. The ones that looked like they were going to be potential playmakers didn't hit the open market.
It's a deep draft, though.
It is.
We get the draft coming up. Don't forget, we got a deep draft. Get the board back.
Yeah.
Got a deep draft.
I may snack one in the draft. But we had Michael Pittman Jr. re-signed with the Colts. We had Mike Evans re-signed with the Bucks. So I'm going to bring in Marquise Hollywood Brown, add some speed to the team.
Ooh, you got some big name players here, some splash players. Saquon Barkley and Marquise Brown.
And Brown wasn't expensive. Like, this is one area. Okay,
you're
paying big money for Christian Wilkins and Saquon Barkley, but Marquise Brown was a cheap deal.
So you get a 1-year deal of Marquise Brown.
Yeah.
You're really building for this year's Madden game, specifically.
I mean, look, we might sign Marquise long term. We'll see how it works. It's just a prove-it deal for Marquise. It's time for Hollywood to show why he's nicknamed Hollywood.
All right. Let's go. So you've got your first three. Where's my next pick here? I lost my free agent list.
You went with DJ Reader for your third.
How do you know? This is live.
It's a hunch.
I'm going DJ Reader.
If I know you the way I think I know you, you thought about bringing in Sheldon Rankins, and then you changed your mind and you went with DJ Reader.
That's a possibility.
Yeah.
How did I lose this? I had things pulled up nice. I had my depth chart here. I had my free agent, my off-season list here. So DJ Reader's going to shore things up on the defensive interior. Again, my whole team last year, my whole strategy was like retread first-rounders. So I had Javon Kinlaw, who made some plays in Madden. Kinlaw made some plays. But I had Javon Kinlaw, Poona Ford as my defensive tackles. We need some help there with DJ Reader. Bump all those guys down the depth chart just a little bit. So my whole strategy here is fill those needs, right? Fill those needs in free agency so I can draft the best players available. So DJ Reader going to shore things up on the defensive interior for me as my third free agent. Got a 2-year deal for Reader.
All right.
You're
I like
up.
that. DJ Reader's, injuries are his only concern, right? And age, I guess, a little.
Yeah. And you know me, I usually ignore injury history during free agent time. I'm like, oh, there's a big name, the guy that played well. Like that pick. Like that selection. Like that signing.
That'll never
So
hurt.
I like having DJ Reader here.
My fourth pick, Jonathan Grenard on the edge. My edge rushers were actually okay But I think Grenard can definitely add something. I think they're definitely missing kind of proven impact, consistent pass rushers. And this is one where we're not just playing for next year. Like Grenard is a building block for the future, a long-term, young, up-and-coming, ascending player who's an outstanding technician, has been productive and pretty good on a per-snap basis. And then we're going to see how much more we can get out of him.
Did you know... in my PFF class that I was doing the other day, someone quoted Nate Tice, that Nate Tice came up with something called the Millsap principle. Millsap's an NBA player who I know nothing about.
Okay.
But apparently what he did was played well in small sample sizes and then got an opportunity to start. And so Nate was calling this the Millsap principle, the guy that plays well in small samples and eventually gets elevated to a starter role and I believe succeeds.
Right.
If you were to name that player, there's a player that comes to mind.
Cameron Wake.
Okay, Wake. There's another player that comes to mind that I feel like we're gonna be on the same page. Who's the other? And Wake's the first one where
Wake's
it's like 150 snaps.
Right. He's always been the poster child for me for that small sample size guy that, in particular, the PFF grading identified as like absurdly good on that sample.
Yeah.
Let's scale up the workload and see if he can handle it. And it was the classic example because the reason he wasn't playing more snaps was the aging big name superstar player who wasn't playing that well but was getting a lot of sacks, so people thought he was playing quite well. It's like the classic
Joey Porter Sr.
Right. It's like the classic, it's everything you would want in a sort of PFF case study, individual player example.
There's another guy that did this, another edge defender. Can you think of who I'm thinking of? He was
edge defender.
He was edge 3 for a team, 4 to 600 snaps a year for a few years, and then hits free agency and becomes a good starter. I'm not going to spend all day here, but Shaq Barrett.
Ah, okay.
I feel like I would name the whole thing after Shaq Barrett. Now, he was different. He was sitting behind Von Miller and DeMarcus Ware on that loaded Broncos defense. Played well. I mean, just the epitome of consistency, Shaq Barrett. And even when you upped his workload, he remained consistent. I just thought that was interesting from the students at class the other day talking about those players. So you've got Jonathan Grenard, similar type of player. So my fourth free agent, I need help in the secondary. So I brought in guys that I like last year, Bryce Hall,
and
DJ Turner. Turner didn't have a great rookie season. We've got to bring in some competition.
The first blow to the model in the expansion era.
You don't need to bring that up. It's year one.
I'm just.
We got year two. We got year 2 here. Joshua Williams is on my team though. Got him. I also brought in Darius Rush. My corners last year weren't great. So I'm bringing in Darius Williams, the Ram corner, who went back to the Rams this offseason, but just I think he's going to finish his career strong over the next few years.
Yeah.
Continuing to produce. Did it in Jacksonville. He's done it with the Rams, and he's going to do it with the Hornets. So, yeah. So I like Darius Williams as just a good starting corner. I'm going to solve one of those starting corner spots in free agency with Darius Williams.
I like that. Darius Williams is a good pick.
Thank you.
I'd actually forgotten that he was a free agent this offseason. Otherwise, I might have. I kept trying to sort of identify corners, even though my corner room is ridiculously strong. I kept sort of zeroing in on free agents that I would quite like to add to the roster, and then was like, nah, you don't need them. All right, my fifth pick, Blake Cashman, linebacker. Similar story to Grenard, actually. Young, ascending player, clear upgrade. I love the idea of, okay, it's a slightly comic and almost caricature type of group, but Blake Cashman with Ivan Pace Jr. as a linebacker duo, two short, stumpy, athletically limited, potentially, linebackers playing next to each other, but they're just playmakers.
Wait, didn't Minnesota just sign him?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're...
I know, it's real life as well as me.
Oh, I was going to say, you've replicated the Vikings linebackers. Nice job. You just keep buying the career year guys.
Well, you say career year, buy high. I say they're ascending. They're on the way up.
Oh,
now's the time to get on the train.
All right. Is that what you're doing? All right, so I'm going to go. So that's your fifth.
Yep.
We're supposed to only have 5, but I think you want to try to grab someone else.
No, I'm okay. I nixed that.
Oh, okay, good. All right, so my fifth free agent, because, we're stealing all the good players from the rest of the NFL here.
Right.
because we're paying a lot, paying a premium here. I'm going Kendall Fuller, cornerback who signed with Miami this offseason. I need the other cornerback spot. So now we're loading up at corner. We're going to have some depth here with Darius Williams, Kendall Fuller, and Joshua Williams, and DJ Turner. Now I'm feeling good about the depth in my secondary. Kendall Fuller, look at that. Still an 83+ PFF grade last year. Guy can still play. He's also at the tail end of his career, but we got to win now. Next year. Fight off the Monarchs. Who are you again?
Yeah, the London Monarchs.
London Monarchs. So my 5th free agent. So just to recap, go through your free agent signings here, and then we'll get on to the NFL draft.
Okay, hang on. I've done what you did and closed that little window out.
It's
my
the worst.
5 free agents. Christian Wilkins. We're going to fix the interior of my defensive line, which, as you saw in the Madden game, was horrific and would just abandon the middle of the defense entirely. Saquon Barkley, running back. We're going to fix the running back room, which was equally dismal on the Madden game. Marquise Brown, we're going to add some speed. We're going to add some consistency at wide receiver at a low price point. And then Jonathan Grenard and Blake Cashman, both coming over from the Texans, both young, ascending, high-quality players that are going to be long-term building blocks, as well as significant upgrades next year.
All right, so I got Danielle Hunter, one of the biggest high-priced free agents this offseason. We need a splash move on the defensive line. Added a star there, bumped everybody down, so we got depth on the defensive line. Tyler Biadasz, starting center, needed that. DJ Reader, big-bodied nose tackle at defensive tackle. Again, we didn't have a cogent starter there, so now we do. So that's 2 defensive linemen we needed to load up front, and then 2 corners, Darius Williams and Kendall Fuller. That adds to Joshua Williams, DJ Turner. We're now very deep at cornerback heading into the 2024 season. All right. And I believe we're under the cap and feeling pretty good about this. So we made some splashes in free agency. It's now time for the draft. Just to reset for those just tuning in. This is real. We did a real expansion draft last year. We built our teams from real expansion draft possibilities. Because of that, the teams didn't look that good. And then we flipped a coin for the number 1 in overall pick. You won the coin toss and got the number 1 overall pick. You took Bryce Young. I took CJ Stroud. So, helped my team just a little bit right off the bat.
Yeah.
And so we built our teams, and it's both of our teams have a few good players, but we were building from expansion rosters. So we're trying to add to it. Last year we also did a round of free agency. We just finished this offseason's round of free agency. We're now on to the draft. And our draft picks are a product of our Madden simulation from Thursday. We did this live on YouTube, played a game head-to-head, then simmed the season. In that season, you ended up with a 6-10 record, right? Is that right? 6-10-1. I think we tied each other or something. And I was 7-9-1. Madden Sim really giving us a lot of credit for our crappy teams. But you have the number 11 pick in the NFL draft, and I have the number 15 pick in the NFL draft. Sound good?
Correct. Now, I was quite annoyed by that because clearly my team was worse than that.
You were banking on having Caleb Williams.
I was certainly thinking about it, yeah. I mean, I felt like the very least the very least I could come up with after that miserable showing last season was, well, at least I'll have the number 1 overall pick and I'll be able to overhaul it. And then free agency came and went. I'm like, no, I'm not going to get Kirk Cousins. That would be a desperation move. It would be a knee-jerk reaction to the season that was. And at number 11, I'm going to stay the course. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm not going to do a knee-jerk, I need a quarterback. Who can I get at number 11? No, Bryce Young is my guy. He was my guy last year. It didn't go well year 1. Nonetheless, it will go better year 2. So I'm not taking a quarterback. I am, however, taking my number 11 pick and fixing my quarterback's problems.
We're going to go through the draft here. We're going to reset for social in a minute here. Let's just make sure we go through the rules. So with the 11th pick, you can take any player that was drafted at 11. For instance, Olu Fashanu from Penn State went at number 11. So you can take anybody who was picked at number 11 or later. They're all fair game for you. So you're up here now for social. The London Monarchs are on the clock at pick number 11.
Yep.
Bryce Young's your quarterback. 5 quarterbacks are already off the board.
Right.
So Bo Nix remains here. You have a chance if you want to bring Bo Nix in to
Right.
compete with Bryce Young. But where are you going to go here with pick number 11?
Yeah, well, we already have a solid offensive line. We added Marquise Brown in free agency. We added Saquon Barkley in free agency. And now we're going to take the number 11 overall pick, and we're going to trade it to San Francisco for Brandon Ayuk. And we're going to pay him the money that he wants and deserves. And now our whole offense looks different.
There's no way that's allowed.
It's allowed. It's done. It's happened.
John Lynch
John
is not.
already okayed it.
John is not saying yes to that.
John, at the number 11 overall pick on draft night, John is ripping your arm off for that trade. And I'm comfortable with it. It's the A.J. Brown deal adjusted for inflation. Like, it's a higher draft pick, but I'm not giving up the third as well.
What are you paying Ayuk here?
Whatever he wants.
Now we might have to check the cap. I'm over here thinking we're not going to get close to the salary cap, and you might now. Bringing in Ayuk, paying him $30 million a year probably.
Yeah, I'm good with that. We can make that work.
All right, well,
I got some good cap guys. I got some good math people.
Where's Spielberger? Get him back on the horn. How's he going to shoot this one in?
I'm hiring the doctor away from Carolina and making him my cap guy.
He can't cap it. He doesn't know what he's doing with the cap. Eric? So you can't. That's not part of the rules here.
Yeah, it's fine. I can do whatever was available at the time my draft pick came on the clock. When my draft pick was on the clock, Brandon Ayuk.
Somebody call John Lynch. Somebody get John Lynch on the phone and ask him if he would actually do this. Who would the Niners pick at pick 11 here? You got Foster, Brock Bowers. Imagine if they took Bowers. The Niners add him to the mix. Because the top 3 receivers are already off the board. So that's your pick at 11, huh?
Yep.
Brandon Ayuk. I can't veto this in the league.
Nope.
This was fantasy. I could veto this.
And Ayuk, I mean, look, one of the most efficient receivers in the game. I think the only thing that holds him back in terms of numbers, production relative to other elite wide receivers is the fact that he plays in the 49ers offense. Not that that's not a good offense, but they have so many mouths to feed. This guy averaged 2.65 yards per route run last season. The only receiver in the NFL with a higher PFF grade was Tyreek Hill. Brandon Ayuk is an absolute superstar, and he's one of the best blocking wide receivers in the NFL for whatever that's worth.
Wow. Your team's coming along here.
That's what I'm saying.
The team's looking pretty good. What if the Niners get Latu with pick 11? Add him to that defensive line.
Would ruin your day a little bit.
It would. That's not really happening. We're not going to simulate what the Niners actually do because Olu Fashanu was really the pick at 11. So that puts me up at pick 15, which happens to be the exact pick where that man Latu went to the Indianapolis Colts. So he's available for me here, Sam. Just to reset where we are here. Pick 15 in the actual draft was Latu. 16 was Byron Murphy. 17 Dallas Turner. 18 Amarius Sims. 19 Jared Verse. 20 Troy Fautanu. Those are just some of the guys that would be available here. But those who follow know where I stand on Latu.
And injuries.
The fact that we tend to ignore them. But I talked to the doctors. Talked to the Hornets trainers. And the North Reading Hornets, I don't know if we've upgraded the training room since the late 90s, 2000 when I graduated. We had like a little training room, and no one worked in there.
Ah.
But we had a little training room.
Okay.
But they checked out Latu, and we're taking him at pick 15. He's cleared by our doctors.
Right.
And so, look, best player on the board, best defensive player in the draft, first defensive player off the board. We're taking Latu at pick 15, adding him to that defensive line that has Daniil Hunter, Charles Omenihu, DJ Reader. We're loading up on that defensive line. I have to say, Sam, I think our year 2 expansion teams are going to look a little bit better now moving forward.
Yeah. I mean, certainly that's a good pick. I can't quibble, can't argue with that. Obviously, we were pushing Latu as one of the best players in this draft. His statistical profile says that he's not just a good player, but he's an elite prospect. He's up there right behind the Bosa brothers, the Myles Garretts of the world. Like, he's closer to those guys than he is everybody else, which means, you should be viewing him on the level, minimum on the level of Aiden Hutchinson and Will Anderson, who were number 2 and number 3 overall picks in their drafts, right? Or was Anderson 4?
Anderson was 3.
3, yeah, 2 and 3. So, you should be viewing him as essentially a top 3, top 5 player in a draft if you're comfortable with the injury history, which obviously you are.
I am. We're comfortable with it.
Yeah.
With the Hornets. So now I have Latu, Daniil Hunter, who I mentioned, Charles Omenihu, Derek Barnett, defensive tackles. Well, we'll talk about defensive tackles in a minute. You can go with your second-round pick. So you have pick 43.
Yeah, 43.
In the second round.
43 was an interesting place to be drafting. There were quite a few players that I was keen on at number 43 overall.
I'll tell you what, the difference, my pick would change at 43 versus 47, what I think I'm going to have. At 47.
Interestingly, 47 was one of the players I was thinking of. Tyler Nubin, the safety from Minnesota. I was keen on him as a player at this spot. There were a couple of other guys. I mean, Chris Jenkins, Mike Sanderson would be interesting. Adonai Mitchell, if I want to go, let's just full Chief style. I'm overhauling my wide receiver core the way they overhaul their offensive line. Adonai Mitchell at 52 would have been an option. But I decided to stay sensible. Offensive line has been a relative strength of this roster. Let's keep it a strength. Let's keep building. And Jackson Powers-Johnson, I think, is a first-round talent whose only question is a little bit of an injury history.
But we don't care.
Well, I'm going to at least roll the dice on that. I think at pick 43 overall, he's more than value in terms of the risk. I can play him at center or guard.
Well, you've already updated your depth chart, I see.
Yeah. I can play him at center or guard. So, JPJ.
When we may have done this previously ahead of time, I may have forgotten. I forgot somebody.
Oh, yeah?
I didn't have my draft board handy when I was doing it. A receiver. We'll figure it out. All right, so my second pick here. So I got pick 47. I'm not loving the second round here. I didn't really love the second round, the way things fell in the NFL draft. A couple of the players I really liked Edgerrin Cooper, who just went ahead of my pick. He may have been the pick if he was still there at 47. I'm not loving what happened here with the second round of the draft. But I'm going to go back to the defensive line. I'm taking Chris Jenkins out of Michigan. Again, going back to the trenches, going back to shoring things up on the defensive line. Jenkins is going to be right next to the guy that he's kind of helping replace in Cincinnati, which is DJ Reader. And now we've got Javon Kinlaw and Poona Ford as your 3 and 4 defensive tackles. That looks a little bit cleaner up front. So a starting defensive line of Daniil Hunter, Laiatu Latu on the edges, DJ Reader and Chris Jenkins on the interior. Now we're talking. We actually have a strength of a team here, and that's the defensive line. So I'm going Jenkins in the second round. I didn't love a lot of the options here, but he was, for me, the cleanest prospect. Love his run-stopping ability. Number 2 run-stop percentage, PFF history, going back to 2014. Leonard Williams is number 1. So I love Jenkins' playmaking ability in the run game. Solid pass rusher, but he's gonna play right away. I think he can make some plays for us.
Yeah, another good pick. Can't hate it at all. My third-round pick, number 75 overall. Now,
you have 75 and I have 79.
Yes. So this is a motivating factor in this pick. You picking at 79, obviously, I know who you want. It's not a secret. You want Jermaine Burton, wide receiver from Alabama. You're number 4 wide receiver in this draft, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So
don't touch him.
And then, look, I'm like, I didn't love Jermaine Burton as much as you. I did, however, like him a lot as a player. And I was aware, my other problem is I knew that Troy Franklin was not going to make it to my next pick, a number 111 in the draft. He get taken at 103 or something?
Yeah.
102. So I'm like, so Troy Franklin's not going to make it to my next pick, and I get to snipe Steve on a player he wanted. So I'm going to take Jermaine Burton at number 75 overall, and now I've added a wide receiver to my room.
Cannot take Jermaine Burton.
I just did. I took him.
I let you concoct a trade in the first round. For Brandon Ayuk. We let that slide.
Let's just pause a beat, right? From Kevontae,
No.
From Kevontae Turpin essentially being my number 1 wide receiver, right? Now I've got Brandon Ayuk, Marquise Brown. I still have Kevontae Turpin. Jermaine Burton has been added to the mix. And then we still got all the useless receivers that weren't doing anything in the Madden game last year. Now, transform the whole core.
You cannot snipe Burton. I don't want anyone else in the third round.
I just took him.
You cannot do that.
This is the classic war room, where they zoom in and 85%.
I'm punching walls right now.
85% of the joy in the room is knowing that you just hosed another team. And then they cut to the other war room and there's you destroying the furniture.
Need Burton far more than you do.
I know. That's why
Corey Davis retired on me. I like Marvin Mims and Josh Downs, but we need help at receiver. Oh, no.
You could take Troy Franklin.
Do I go Troy Franklin?
He's a big model guy.
Sure is. But I don't know at this point. Why is he falling?
Hard to say.
Now I've got questions.
Because of his 40 time when he had the flu or whatever it was.
The slalom, though. He's slaloming the gauntlet. The slalom gauntlet, I think,
it was a rough gauntlet. I'm not going to lie.
Has made our scouts wary of Troy Franklin. All right, I do have another play. I mean, I was obviously eyeing Jermaine Burton. I'm not happy with that.
Yeah.
I do have another player near the top of my board.
Okay.
At pick 79. I didn't tell our production team Troy Franklin here, though, so.
No, you can't do that, too.
So I can't do that. I'm going Christian Haynes, a guard out of UConn, going back to the trenches. My first 3 picks, going to shore up the offensive and defensive line. I think Haynes can come in and compete at left guard with Brady Christensen. And now we're feeling pretty good about our offensive line here. I think Haynes is an instant day one starter, and you don't find a whole lot of day one starters. I do love Jermaine Burton. He would have been the pick. So I'm the guy that would have gone up for the press conference. And it's like, yeah, we took Chris Jenkins in the second round. A couple guys came off the board that we would have taken ahead of him, right? I'm not going to tell you we got our guy. I'm not going to lie. We got our second pick here in the third round. We got our second choice.
You're going to undermine him right from the off, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, we'll build up Christian Haynes. We'll say, look, he was our guy all along. We're thrilled to get a day one starter at pick 79. Christian Haynes, a guard out of UConn. Love the way he moves. Good zone scheme type of guy. Again, I think he's upgrading our current roster. There's a lot of GMs out there that draft against their current roster. And if a guy can come in and replace a player on the current roster, it's good value for them. And I think I've done that, certainly with my first 3 picks. Meanwhile, You're just getting wide receiver 4 with Jermaine Burton.
Yeah.
Would have started for me.
4th round, number 111. I'm going to take a player that, at periods during this pre-draft process, I think was seen as the number 1 running back in the draft. Jalen Wright, the running back from Tennessee, the speedster, 4'3" back with explosive playmaking ability, can take it to the house at any time. We're going to turn a weakness into a strength. We're going from Roshan Johnson as my number 1 guy and no real options outside of him to Saquon Barkley, Jalen Wright as the home running hitting speedster, and then Roshan as a third back. I like it. Jalen Wright.
You really just played Madden. This whole
this is where you
process.
should draft him. Pick number 111 for Jalen Wright.
No, it's
Sign
fine.
me up.
I'm just saying, you're getting your speed guys and everything. I'm sticking to the board.
That is sticking to the board. This is high level drafting right now. Drafting Jalen Wright at number 111. Perfect. Love it.
Now we may have. I can't be need drafting here. Troy Franklin's now off the board. Pick 115. I know I've already loaded up at corner in free agency, but if I'm going to say I'm picking the best players on the board, we're going to stick with that. We're going to stick with that strategy. It's going to pay off in 3 or 4 years here, Sam. I'm going TJ Tampa, cornerback out of Iowa State. At one point, rumored to go in the first round, goes in the 4th round. In real life, he's going to go in the fourth round here, and just add in depth.
I'm surprised with your proclivity for drafting injured players. You weren't all over Peyton Wilson's
I should have
slide in the draft.
I know. I should have. Wilson was in the mix here. Where did he end up going? He went at 100. I could have gotten him in the 3rd round, but I thought Haynes was the top player on my board. He's the top player on my board there. Now that Burton was gone. Mm-hmm. So I'm going TJ Tampa. That's good value in the 4th round.
No, solid.
54 on the consensus board. Mm-hmm. I'm feeling like we got a steal here on draft night.
Absolutely. That's certainly how you're selling it to the media.
You're up in round 5.
5th round, pick number 146. I'm not done adding reinforcements in the trenches. I'm going to go with a guy that I'd kind of identified as a sleeper, a mid-round edge rusher that I would like in the draft. Javon Solomon, the edge rusher from Troy, right?
Yep.
Kind of weird body type, but just productive player. And yeah, maybe he's not going to do much, but this is where you roll the dice on somebody like that. I think you can come in, add to that rotation, and be a solid contributor.
It's a good pick. Bill's got him. Has a chance to be that pass rush specialist. That's where we're rounding out the roster right here. And here's what I do. Here's what I'm going to do. I promise you, I will not round out the roster with guys who are just going to play special teams. Right? We're not going to do that. We got guys that are going to be potential starters, and that's what we're getting at pick 150, round 5. Jeremiah Trotter Jr. Can't believe he's still available here. Yeah. My numbers love him. They love Jeremiah Trotter Jr. And Eagles got him in real life. I had some questions about him on film, especially the scheme. Last year, a little slow, getting out into coverage, covering running backs and everything. But I think Trotter, really, really productive player that I love to get here in round 5. I think he's got a chance to compete for a starting linebacker spot in the next year or two. And we're getting that in round 5. So I'm happy with Jeremiah Trotter. A lot of defensive players here for me. Trusting the model.
Yeah, I like it. 6th round, still not done adding reinforcements on the offensive line. You can never have too much contingency along there. So pick number 187, we are going with Christian Mahogany, the offensive guard out of Boston College.
It's another potential starting guard.
Right?
In round 6. I like Mahogany. Crushes people.
That's the idea.
You're adding some power.
Uh-huh.
So you've drafted 2 guards.
Well, a guard / center and a guard. So we got some flexibility with JPJ. He could start at left guard immediately, or he could start at center for me immediately. And then Christian Mahogany gives me probably a backup guard right away, but a guy that could step in to the starting role if I want to put JPJ at center.
All right. I am feeling like I've neglected receiver.
Yeah.
And now the strategy of just, keep drafting the best players and everything, it's not going to feel great when we head into this year with the receiving. Look, I like my top 2 guys, but the receiving depth is lacking.
What is your depth chart currently at wide receiver?
Marvin Mims and Josh Downs. Now, Corey Davis coming out of retirement.
Yeah.
We're banking on Corey staying unretired here, coming back.
Unretired.
That he's going to be back.
You're bringing him back in the way the Jets weren't.
Yeah. We're going to bring Corey Davis back.
Yeah.
Russell Gage is still there. Did he retire? I think he was talking about retirement.
When you have to ask if your receivers
Devin
retired,
Tompkins just had an off-field issue. He's getting released.
Yeah, okay.
So we don't really have a lot of wide receiver depth. We're going to have to look at
It's not great.
Undrafted free agents.
Yeah.
We might have to make some trades before camp here. Might have to do something. Might be trading next year's draft picks. Is that allowed? You already got IU because T. Higgins available. Let me call the Bengals down the street here. All right, we're in round 6. Once again, sticking to the board at pick 191, I'm going DJ James, another cornerback out of Auburn. I'm going to be rolling 6 deep at corner.
Man, I like that. Your draft. I like your draft.
Thank you.
Now, you haven't necessarily addressed needs, but
No. This is what I'm telling you. You stick to it. The starting group of Kendall Fuller and Darius Williams at corner. Let's go with Bryce Hall, DJ Turner, Joshua Williams, and now TJ Tampa and DJ James. But, someone in the chat thinks we can move TJ Tampa to safety anyway. So we got that. We're just best players are going to play. Best players are going to play.
Yeah, but the somebody in the chat.
Don't worry about it. Don't mention who it is. Doesn't matter. We're just loading up on good football players here. So okay. I'm happy with my draft, even though they're all on defense and I don't have enough playmakers. CJ Stroud's going to drag them. We're going to drag these pass catchers. If we were ranking my pass catchers, PFF.com.
Wouldn't be great.
Yours are good now, though.
Mine, they've gone from a weakness to a strength.
And you got Saquon and Jalen Wright coming out of the backfield. You got some
saying.
Dynamism over there.
I have read the messages loud and clear from that Madden game, and I have attempted to fix it.
I thought you were going to say on the message boards.
No, God,
as a GM, you're just reading the message boards.
No. I've read not between the lines. I've seen the evidence in front of my eyes, and I've undertaken the fix.
You're the guy that overrates the one game.
I mean, it was the one piece of evidence we had.
All right, you're up, round 7.
My final draft pick number 231, very close to the end of the draft. Safety, Jalen Key out of Alabama. Transfer, right? He was from UAB or something, transferred into Alabama, still played at a pretty high level last season. Good coverage player, good across the board, really, and you can never go wrong adding DBs out of a Nick Saban defense. The last one we're going to see for presumably a while, if not ever.
Well, good job there. So that's pick 231. I've got pick 235. I'm going with an undrafted player. He did not get drafted, but he will here. Gabriel Murphy, the undersized edge rusher out of UCLA. The size isn't an issue. It's the small arms of Gabriel Murphy. Still surprised he didn't get drafted.
Couldn't believe he went undrafted. Like I thought about adding him as my final draft pick as well. I was like, okay, there's not that many players that are after my pick who went undrafted that I would be keen on snagging. And now, I definitely thought about him.
Do we have last year's draft handy? Did you draft? Where is that? Did you draft Ivan Pace Jr.?
I don't remember.
Last year? Because
I don't think so.
last year we did undrafted free agency where we could
I think
kind
he
of.
was who we filled out the roster with, just rookies.
How did you get him ahead of me? Because I would have drafted him.
Maybe you're just bad at this.
Where's your draft picks? Can't find them from last year. But you ended up with Ivan Pace Jr. I think you may have actually taken him in the draft though.
Okay, I may have.
Here
it's possible, but I don't remember.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, I didn't think I did.
You took Terrell Smith,
I did. He's still on the roster.
Kobe Turner, Steve Avila.
He's still part of my depth chart.
It's not bad. Where's my draft last year? C.J. Stroud. Then I took D.J. Turner, Marvin Mims, Josh Downs. See, I loaded up on my receivers last year. I'm trusting those draft picks.
Mm-hmm.
Darnell Washington. I got Clayton Tune last year. And then we got the undrafted free agents. Then I had to sign kickers and punters and the whole thing.
Yeah.
All right, so that's the end of the draft. Do you want to add any undrafted free agents?
I didn't add any undrafted free agents, but the one addition that I made, so I needed to, I'm having faith, keeping faith with my quarterback room-ish, right? We're keeping Bryce Young as QB1. I have faith. I saw the Madden numbers, 20 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Good season.
Really trusting that Madden
Trusting
sim,
him.
huh? I mean, Stroud was terrible in the Madden sim. Should I have replaced him?
But remember, the sim happened after the game, right? So couldn't play in the game. Those were clearly just early season rookie growing pains for Bryce Young. Once I got out of the way and let the game play, Bryce Young was cooking.
Game slowed down for him.
I'm going to keep Tyrod Taylor as my backup as QB2. I think that's a good solution. He was on a one-year deal. We've brought him back. We've extended Tyrod. I think that's a good spot. QB3, I'm bringing in Adrian Martinez, UFL MVP, as my QB3.
Really?
UFL MVP, UFL championship game MVP, apparently the rushing leader in the UFL as well. Adrian Martinez, QB3, I'm doing it.
Look at you, UFL scouting, huh?
Yeah.
Good for you. The only undrafted free agent that I'm really looking at here is Leonard Taylor III.
Okay.
Went undrafted.
Yeah.
Still, the model still liked him.
Model still liked it.
And we're going to go back, 2 years ago, 2022 was explosive, looked like that, explosive, off the ball, 3 technique. And we're going to bring him in undrafted free agency. I'm going to have to cut some people.
Well, I already made some cuts. I didn't necessarily keep track of who I cut, but
I haven't updated my
if you're not
depth
on the
chart.
roster anymore, you got cut. Sorry. Go see the Turk and hand in your playbook.
How do you report these things? By the way, I have Malik. My QB room was Malik Willis, Clayton Tune, and then Felipe Franks. Yikes! Because Felipe was gonna. Yeah. Felipe has one of the greatest throws in football history.
Yeah.
And tight end ability.
We're going old school.
So you don't get that often.
We're going old school with the cuts. I'm just pinning the new roster on the message board, and if you're not on it, you got to go hand in your playbook.
On the message board on the Teams app. Hey, log into Teams. If you don't see your name.
If your name's not on there, you got cut.
Oh, I got some hilarious stories about getting cut. And guys getting cut while we're here.
Uh-huh.
We'll recap the draft in a minute. But in spring training, when it's cut time in spring training, they let guys go like pitch for the day, and then they come back, pull them in. Hey, you're released.
Nice.
They take then it's like they didn't get a guy one time in time, and there's like 4 fields, and most fields it's like a diamond, so it's like there's a central area and you can get to all the fields pretty easily. But the Giants complex was like linear, so field 4 was like way down the end. Some guy walked all the way to field 4 to start practice for the day, and they jumped in a golf cart, drove down, picked him up off the field, threw him in the golf cart, drove him back so they could, send him home.
Nice.
Some great times getting released.
Great times.
Mine were pretty clean, though. You walk in the building, they're like, hey, you got to go see you. Then you get back to your locker and you're deleted.
This is my approach to solving the problem, which is in today's world with Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport and the like, you don't, as soon as you inform anybody, it's out there, right? And there's no way, you can't cleanly inform everybody in the sort of, the person, like the personal touch. We go have a one-on-one meeting. Let's explain. By that time, the news is out. Schefter's tweeting it. Now you look like a jackass because you haven't informed everybody. I'm putting it up on the notice board. If you want to come see me after, that's cool. We talk about it.
I mean, with millennials these days and Gen Z, you can just text messages basically in person. I mean, that whole generation, they like date over text message. You know what I mean?
Instagram
so you could
DM them.
The old we want to do this in person. Like in person for them is like a nice text message, couple emojis.
So your solution would actually be the team unfriends the player on Instagram. That's how you got cut.
That's another possibility.
Yeah.
I would say for millennials, a text message will do. For Gen Z, if you unfollow them on Instagram, message has been sent.
So that's instead of the player doing it to the team just goes out there and unfriends all the guys that got cut.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I like
so
it.
Me and the social team, we're going to be tight. I'm going to be like, hey, unfriend these few guys. What if if they don't check Instagram in a few days, they might just keep showing up for practice. But hey, the key fob won't work too. That always works. All right. Do we have a recap of our drafts here?
Yep.
Coming up on the screen. Here's Sam's. You want to walk through your draft?
Okay. My draft, pretty happy about it. Obviously, the first round, we traded for Brandon Ayuk. That's the single best draft pick that got spent this year, the same way it was when the Eagles brought in A.J. Brown. Second round, Jackson Powers-Johnson, listed as a center here. It's up in the air where we're going to play him so far. We're going to play it out in training camp, see how it works. We might play him at guard. We might play him at center. Third round pick, we sniped you and also brought in an elite potential playmaker at wide receiver. We're aware of the off-field concerns. We have a very strong backroom staff. We're comfortable that we can put the right environment around Jermaine and really get the most out of him. And that's where you take a gamble like that.
Absolutely furious over here that you took my player.
Fourth round, elite, explosive running back talent, Jalen Wright. We add some speed to that backfield and some cover for Saquon. Fifth round, we got Javon Solomon. Sixth round, Christian Mahogany. And seventh round, Jalen Key.
It's the second straight year you've taken my player in the third round because you knew I loved him. You took Kobe Turner from me last year. You took Jermaine Burton from me this year. We know that this would never happen in real life because nobody would know.
This happens all the time.
This would stay, but my love for those players would stay in the building. You wouldn't be able to spite me.
This is all part of the game. GMs know who other GMs like, and if they have the opportunity.
Not at that level.
Of course they do.
Not at that level.
Absolutely.
They don't know. They would not know my feelings for Kobe Turner and for Jermaine Burton.
They know.
At draft time. All right. Here's my draft recap. Started with Laiatu Latu, the edge defender out of UCLA.
I really liked your draft. It was a good draft.
Thanks. I think it's a lot of good players. Chris Jenkins, a defensive tackle out of Michigan. Christian Haynes, starting guard potential right out of UConn. Cornerback TJ Tampa in round 4. Jeremiah Trotter in round 5. Big steal there. Cornerback DJ James, and then Gabriel Murphy, who went undrafted in real life, but we're bringing him in. So we got 2 of the 3 awesome UCLA edge rushers. And we're going to see if Gabriel wants to bring in Grayson as an undrafted free agent as well, just so that the Twins
hang around.
Yeah, the Twins can stay together.
Are you going to have him on the roster, or just like bring him in as like a hanger-on?
Might just hang out.
Practice squad.
He'll at least be rookie minicamp invite at least.
You can have him in the practice squad.
Yeah, we can practice.
Gabriel makes the active roster. Grayson makes the practice squad, and then they can stay together, but you're not committed to him.
Gabriel's better though, so we're gonna.
Right.
That's why we drafted him and not Grayson.
Right.
So yeah, I'm feeling good about my draft. I'm feeling good about my offseason as far as the defense goes. A lot of pressure on C.J. Stroud to bring those playmakers along, and for playmakers Marvin Mims and Josh Downs to take big steps in year 2.
Yeah. So, you look at the roster post-free agency, post-draft. I feel a lot better about my team than I did before we went in.
Your team's much better.
Right.
Yeah. We also, real quick, we allowed us to take any of the 5 free agents regardless of –
Yeah.
We just took them.
Oh, no.
We won the recruiting battle on all these free agents.
We were set up to succeed with the process this offseason.
So you were guaranteed five good players,
right.
probably.
Other than the fact that I was picking 11th overall with one of the worst teams ever assembled.
So it would look better with Caleb Williams, I'll say that.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't have Ayuk.
Correct.
Okay, would you rather have, I keep interrupting you,
Yeah.
Bryce Young and Brandon Ayuk or one Caleb Williams?
I would take Brandon Ayuk and roll with and hope that Bryce is the guy. The difference between, remember, in game, it was like, God, do I bench him for Tyrod Taylor? We can pull that trigger a lot earlier in year 2 if we don't see any improvement from Bryce. And Tyrod Taylor with that group, I think, would make some things happen. Anyway, running through my starting group now. We got Bryce Young still at quarterback. Tyrod as the backup. Saquon Barkley in the backfield. And now Jalen Wright as his backup. And Roshan, who's a good back, just gets hosed by the Madden, algorithm or whatever. He's now running back 3. And then my wide receiver group, which was miserable last year, is now Brandon Ayuk, Marquise Brown, Kevontae Turpin.
That's legit.
Jermaine Burton, Josh Reynolds, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Jonathan Mingo are just making up the numbers. They were my starters last year.
I might need to trade for Juju. He could be my 3.
Tight end is still in not great shape. We got Albert O, Taysom Hill, and Max Williams. I think somehow the trio can function, right? It's not the best thing in the world. We brought back David Bakhtiari. We're comfortable with his knee. He's comfortable with his knee. He's out there waiting in real life for a job. He's going to play again, so we're comfortable rolling with him. Jackson Powers-Johnson, inserted at left guard right now. Maybe he becomes my starting center. Bradley Bozeman, Isaac Sayamalo at right guard with Christian Mahogany backing him up. We brought back Mekhi Becton, starting right tackle. I think that's a pretty good offensive line. And then defense has been overhauled as well. Starting, Jonathan Grenard, Kobe Turner, Christian Wilkins, and Marcus Davenport. That's a solid front four.
Keep talking because I didn't update mine like you did.
Cool. My linebacker group. So I've got Ivan Pace Jr. and Blake Cashman. I have, however, kept Michael Walker in the starting lineup simply because he intercepts every single stick route that's ever run.
Just don't throw him.
Yeah. So I'm comfortable giving him the starting job because of that. My cornerback group is Deron Bland in the slot, J.C. Jackson, Jamel Dean, and then Christian Benford could force his way into that starting lineup as well. And obviously the great Terrell Smith is heading into year 2, so who knows where the ceiling lies for him. Safeties, George Odom and Jordan Battle, with the rookie Jalen Key coming in to compete there. And then my specialists, kicker, Anders Carlson. Not the greatest, rookie season in the world. Maybe we will upgrade Anders in a training camp battle. We'll see. But for the moment, he's inserted as a starter. Punter, Matt Ariza, punt god, is in there. He's signed with the Chiefs in real life, right? And then some guy called Alex Ward is my long snapper. Can't tell you much about him, other than apparently he did a good enough job last year that I didn't notice, and therefore he's back. That's how long snapping works. If you can't remember who your guy is, he's probably good.
So it's probably good. So you're probably all set there. All right. I think we could put my team up. I did try to reset the depth chart as best I could. We could talk through it. Did I get most of them?
Where are your areas of weakness now that you've...
So it depends on how you think of my running back room. Rashad Penny is back. We saw what he did in the game, though. He looked pretty good in Madden.
Yeah, well, the game looked like, Seahawks, Rashad Penny.
Yeah, Rashad Penny, Dwayne McBride, and Keaton Mitchell. What we saw with Keaton Mitchell.
So
Mitchell and Penny is my 1 and 2.
His knee fell apart.
Receiver is a question mark with Marvin Mims and Josh Downs.
Yeah.
And then Simi Fehoko and Russell Gage backing those guys up. Lance McCutcheon, Corey Davis. Not great compared to your room, for sure. Still feel pretty good about my tight ends. Noah Fant and Darnell Washington. I like my line. Orlando Brown Jr., Christian Haynes is going to probably step in and start at guard. Tyler Biotish, Kevin Zeitler, and Rob Havenstein as my starting offensive line.
Yep.
But the defensive line is where I'm strong. Defensive line and corner is where we're strong and deep, and maybe too deep at corner. A little too deep there.
How many corners have you got on the roster?
We've got 8. We have 8. So if you need a corner, we're willing to talk trade here. But on the defensive line, Daniil Hunter and Laiatu Latu starting at edge, backed up by Charles Omenihu, Obo Okoronkwo, and Derek Barnett. So we're like 5 deep on the edge. Alex Wright's in there as well. I've decided to go 12 deep at defensive line, basically.
You've got
I have to cut some players too,
right?
But I just moved everybody across.
You're currently at 58 players, so you got to cut 5 guys. You've also got 5 more defenders than you have offensive players, whereas mine currently are evenly split. So you've got how many corners have you got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7.
We got a lot of competition. We got 8.
You got 12 if you count your slots.
Oh shoot, yeah, we got 12. We have 10 general outside corner. TJ Tampa might be playing a little safety. Yeah, we might move him. We're just gonna put the best players out there. Best players are gonna play. But the defensive line, back to tackle, DJ Reader and Chris Jenkins, with Javon Kinlaw, Poona Ford back.
That's a nice. That's a front 4.
Yeah.
Hunter.
Kalia Davis. This will be easy. Kalia Davis is going to get cut. I got to cut some model.
Yeah, you got to cut some guys here. Danielle Hunter, DJ Reader, Chris Jenkins, and Laiatu Latu. That's a hell of a front 4.
Linebacker TJ Edwards and Isaiah Simmons with Nick Nyman, Jeremiah Trotter now backing him up. Derek Barnes. Kind of like the depth there.
Yep.
And corners where it's loaded. On the outside, Kendall Fuller and Darius Williams, who we got in free agency. Bryce Hall, DJ Turner, Joshua Williams. And then, Darius Rush has already moved to safety. Kindle Vildor, Jerry Jacobs. You got those 2 players, too.
Yeah.
Guys that can kind of play. And then DJ Tampa and DJ James in the draft.
A lot of corners.
Yeah. So Bryce Hall might be getting cut. Joshua Williams is fine. He's still playing pretty well. And we get the young guys there. Safeties Darnell Savage and Ashton Davis with Ronnie Hickman, who played well as a rookie. That's why we got him in undrafted free agency. And Kayvon Merriweather as the backups there. So, yeah, I'm good with my roster. But then I got special teamers.
You do. You have 3 special teamers. Have you ever heard of any of the 3?
Not since last year
Gotcha.
when I drafted them. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. We're not making any changes there. My special teams coach will let us know if we have to let anything go. So we're going to cut Desjuan Johnson. It's going to get cut here. I don't want to make a big deal out of it. But yeah, we'll post the roster too, and you'll know if you made the squad. Felipe Franks probably might not make it out of camp here.
Check the message board or Instagram.
I could use a better backup QB, I think.
Then Malik Willis, yeah.
Malik Willis and Clayton Tune.
Yeah.
Backing up. I was thinking about taking Michael Pratt.
Yeah.
In the draft as my backup. I would always take Michael Pratt.
At some point in the draft, I considered Spencer Rattler.
But we don't have to get our teams down to 53 anyway. We're going to let these guys come in and compete.
In training camp?
Yeah. We don't have to be down to
I'm skipping right ahead of training camp and going right to the cut day.
You just got to roll with 53.
I'm comfortable with the 53 we have under contract. I don't need the other,
you might hear from
40.
The Players Association here. But, yeah.
There's nothing in there that says you need to carry 90. It's just people do.
Save on meal money.
You find me the rule in the CBA that says I can't run through the entirety of training camp with 53 guys.
I'm sure the team's going to love that. They're going to love those reps, the extra reps.
That's what I'm saying. It's development time.
It's like Camp Coughlin over there. You had 2-a-days? You going 2-a-days?
Yeah, maybe we'll see.
In the heat? In the rain of London? All right.
Yeah,
that's
the thing. You don't have to worry about the heat. It's London.
You have to worry about the heat. You got to go get your AC guy.
Oh, I got to worry about the heat.
Anyway, that was a lot of fun. Let us know how our drafts are, how our free agency went. Let us know the feedback. We have a special guest on Thursday.
Yeah, we are going to have Arif Hassan on the podcast. He's never been on the show before, I don't think. You might be familiar with his work on Twitter or the various outlets that he's written for. He's got a Substack right now, and he has written about whether there is such a thing, and if so, what? Clutchness for quarterbacks. You know, we talk about this all the time. Who are the clutch quarterbacks? Who are the guys in crunch time that actually show up and play? He wrote 10,000 words on quarterback clutchness, whether it's a thing, how one measures it, who have been the clutch quarterbacks, et cetera, et cetera. So we're going to have him on the show to break it all down, talk through it. You can find his work. I've tweeted out a couple of times. You can also find him on Twitter. Go subscribe to his Substack, support his work, and we'll talk through it on Thursday.
All right, looking forward to that. And thanks to everybody for tuning in today. We'll see you again on Thursday with more PFF NFL Podcast.